Hey everybody, Chris Eggleston here, and coming at you with another review of this Stripe 5.0 beta. So Gravity Forms, I want to say it's probably been maybe 2 weeks, but they rolled out the Stripe add-on 5.0 beta. I'm not going to hit everything in this because there's a lot to unpack, but I want to touch on some important aspects of this release and encourage you to go download it and give it a whirl. Remember not to use this on any of your live production sites. Only use this in a local or a staging test site. 5.0 Stripe does require that you have Gravity Forms 2.7 beta installed as well. Stripe 5.0 will not run on the current version of Gravity Forms, which I believe is like 2.6.6.1. So you would have to also download the beta version of Gravity Forms 2.7 and have that installed on your production, not your production site. Remember that. Your staging site, your local environment, your development environment, not live, not production. Okay, save yourself some hassle there. So, what's the big deal? Well, the current Stripe element essentially allows you to take payment via credit card, major credit cards, if you want to have the credit card element within your form, so the user doesn't have to be taken over to Stripe secure page to complete the process, right? So you have that ability to embed a card element in your form currently, which looks like this essentially, okay? So that's the default. If you wanted to use any of the additional payment methods that Stripe provided or was integrated with or made available to you, you'd have to use right now in the current version of the Stripe add-on, you'd have to use the Stripe checkout page. So instead of having the card element on your form, when somebody submits the form, they're then taken to the Stripe checkout page where they are given the option to make their payment with whatever payment options you have activated within your Stripe dashboard, okay? So what changes in Stripe 5.0 is a single element for multiple payment options. Okay, so Stripe has created one secure payment element that can be embedded for multiple payment options. Okay, I have an example of that right here. Okay, so this is the new payment element that will now be available in your Gravity Forms form. So as you can see here, this demo offers a few options. I think that one of these that most people are going to be super excited about is the US bank account option. Or I think you can use other bank account options as well, as long as you have that enabled within Stripe. But here you'll be able to actually connect to your bank account and make purchases that way. You don't have to use a credit card. So I know that's a big feature that I see people ask a lot about for Gravity Forms Stripe users. So this is kind of going to be a big deal, but it's also, I believe, going to be a little bit of a stressor for some, and I'll point out a couple of reasons for that. But ultimately, this is going to be a big advantage. No more will there be a Stripe checkout page. Everything will be handled from within the form for all the different types of payment options. There's 19 plus. Okay, so as I showed you, this is the card field that we're used to. With 5.0, it's going to change. So instead of it being called Stripe card field, it's just going to be called Stripe. But there's also this option right here. So you can enable additional payment methods. So basically this would allow you to use this single element to collect payment for the different payment options you have enabled within your Stripe account, as noted right here. Okay, so there's 19 plus methods of payment that you can take within your Stripe account. So if you don't enable that, and you don't have to, if you don't enable that, your card field's going to stay the same as it has been, and that's it. Like major credit cards, that's it. But if you enable this, you can get a little bit more options. Okay, so let's go ahead and just look at what that looks like. of course, I would use a multi-page form. Thank you, Gravity Wiz, for that nice add-on live preview that makes it easy to do things. All right, so apparently my account doesn't have very many things enabled, but these are two, and like I mentioned, the bank account option is going to be huge for a lot of users. So here you can enter your credit card as normal. The element itself is bigger, a little bit prettier. It's got this changing card icon here, which is fancy. And then again, when you go to bank account, you'll have the option. These won't all be here because these are for your test account essentially, but in different ways to test it and see how it works. So basically you can do a test setup, and basically you're gonna log into your account. If this wasn't a test, it would have asked me to log into my bank account. Who's my bank? What's my login information? Okay, I'm logged in. What account do I want to test? And these are different options. If you want to test what happens when you get an insufficient funds, we'll just go with the success account. Okay, so then it's going to link your account up, and that's it. So once that's done, you're not actually entering your bank account information. This is much more secure. So once that's done, now you know that you can make payment with that bank account. Okay, so again, let's look back at this Stripe demo, and you'll see that we've got options like Affirm. So if you can take Affirm payments, or if you're set up with Affirm to do that. Now in this case, using Affirm, once submitted, you're going to be redirected to a secure Affirm site, to complete that purchase through your Affirm account, or to set up an account, whatever's required at that point. Same thing with some of these other third-party providers that offer these unique payment options. Okay, WeChat Pay, again, same thing. It goes through the same process that's required by these different merchants in order to process. But if you're processing payments through, if you want to be able to process payments for country-specific payment processors, right? That you'll be able to do that as long as it's available within Stripe, and you can enable it within your Stripe dashboard. All right. So this new element is going to give you a lot more options within the form instead of having to use the checkout page, which reduces one major concern for users that don't want the form to submit until after the payment at the checkout page is complete. But that's not how Gravity Forms works. You have to first submit the form to be redirected to the Stripe checkout page to complete your order. If you have the webhook set up, it should send a notice back to Gravity Forms for that entry, notifying you that the payment was complete or the subscription was created, and adding the new information, right? So that should happen, but a lot of people prefer the form not to be submitted and create an entry until the whole process is done. So having more options within the element will eliminate that process. Okay. Let's see here. What did I want to bring up? Okay. So as I mentioned, there's a nice article on Gravity Forms Docs, which I'll link to. I'm not gonna talk about Link. You can look up Link. So basically, Link allows you to use your email address to link up to payment options. So if Link's enabled, then basically it uses that email address to pull any, like a wallet essentially, any email or any payment methods you have connected to that email. You can also pay with Apple Pay, Google Pay, or those wallets through this new element. So a lot of benefits to this, and I think a lot of people will be happy that it's finally here. And like I said, go to gravityforms.com, do all that fun stuff, download these plugins, install them in your development, staging, local, not live environments, test them out, play with them, get excited for what's coming. Don't have a release date. They never are going to give you a release date. But the more people who participate in beta, essentially the more effective the release will be, and potentially the sooner, because they're going to get help with ironing out all the problems and getting customer feedback to make those improvements before launch. So this is I mentioned earlier, there are going to be a couple things that people might be frustrated about, which are not on Gravity Forms. They're on Stripe, 100%. But I want to point them out just because they're also pointed out here in this article. But one of them is whenever somebody loads your Stripe, whenever somebody loads the page that has your Stripe element on it, it's going to automatically create an incomplete payment or payment intent, an incomplete payment intent within your Stripe account. Okay, this is what it looks like right here. So you'll see anytime somebody hits the page, so even if they don't want to fill out the form, if they don't start to fill out the form, if they don't submit the form, they don't enter credit card information, they don't select the payment option, when the page loads, okay, when somebody lands on the page and the page loads, this will happen. A $1 incomplete will show up in your Stripe account. I know that's going to be annoying, okay, because potentially you're going to have hundreds of these. And again, that's 100% on Stripe. This is how they handle it. This is how they do it. And there's nothing that we can essentially do about that. So every time a site visitor hits your checkout form, okay, that's going to happen. So you want to be careful about where you put these things if you don't want a bazillion of those payment intents. Okay, and if you want to complain about that, please go to stripe.com and offer your feedback. All right, don't go to Gravity Forms support and complain to them, because they will tell you that is a Stripe configuration, limitation, expectation, whatever it is. Okay, so the next thing that I wanted to point out here, I think, was this, because it can be a little bit confusing once you start seeing it in your Stripe account. So currently, when you create a subscription through Stripe, through your Gravity Forms, it creates a subscription. The first payment is a subscription payment, and then every subsequent payment is also a subscription payment. However, moving forward, the first payment of a subscription, so let's say you have a form selling, I don't know, a 12-month magazine subscription month to month. Okay, so somebody comes to your website and they want to sign up for this magazine subscription. Once they make that first payment, it'll show up in Stripe as a one-time payment. So it won't be in your subscription within Stripe. It'll be in your payments. And if you're familiar with Stripe's dashboard, this will make sense. If you're not, go into Stripe and check it out. So it'll show up as a one-time payment, and then the Stripe subscription will be created, but the first payment will be essentially a credit of $0. Okay, so that's what you'll see there. That one-time payment will be a credit to the subscription of $0, and every payment after that, every subsequent payment for the next 11 months will process as you expect within the subscription itself. Okay, so that I can see being a pain. Again, not a Gravity Forms thing, 100% a Stripe thing, and how they have things set up and working. So if you want to complain about that, head over to stripe.com, provide your feedback, and let them know. But again, probably not going to change. This is how they're doing it. This is how it's going to be done. But important for you to understand, whether it's for your own use or your building sites for your clients, and all of a sudden they want to know, A, why do I have all these incompletes? And B, why didn't I get the first payment of a subscription? It says $0. Well, that's because it processed as a one-time payment and credited your subscription. Okay. So I'd encourage you, I'm going to link to these documents below this video. Go read them. Again, I want to encourage you again to go check out this Stripe element, because it is pretty cool. I think it is a massive improvement and does meet some of those requests that a lot of people have had for more options, more payment options within the form, within the element. specifically ACH payments, so using bank accounts to make your payments, and then eliminating that requirement of the checkout page. Okay, so this is just, again, a brief overview. This was not intended to be a sales pitch or anything, or to be a full-blown tutorial on how to use this. Just an introduction to the Stripe 5.0 add-on that is currently in beta, if you haven't seen it yet, if you missed the subscription. But again, go read these documents in their entirety so that you can understand what's going to be changing with Stripe, so that you know before updating to 5.0 what's going to happen and what to expect. All right, if you have questions, feel free to hit them up here on YouTube. I will also post this in an article at gravityranger.com. You can leave your comments there as well, also linked below the video. All right, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.